How many of you guys are actually working in co-working spaces? Co-working spaces. That's huge right now. Surprising. Only 4 hands up. The rest of you guys are working in normal conventional offices. That's going to be very interesting later. Now, the reason why I'm asking is because co-working spaces as an industry is really taken off, but still they make up a very small percentage of the amount of offices here in Kuala Lumpur, not in KL but in the US as well. Our next panelists and speakers, they will know a thing or two about them. They are the founders of Colony, basically. It's this luxurious co-working space that's situated here in Malaysia. I think it launched in mid-2017. They managed to raise $5 million in less than a year. And their workspace is now available in 5 different locations in downtown Kuala Lumpur. All right. Before this, Timothy, who's going to be one of the panelists here, he was co-founder and COO of digital marketing company called NetCentric. Audrey, on the other hand, who is his partner in real life as well as back at home, she actually began her career in the advertising field with Group M, all right, where she managed a lot of blue chip clients' social media presence like Guinness and Unilever and Maxis. She's also a really prolific blogger and vlogger, and they're both in the co-working space at this point. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, I would like you guys to give them a huge warm welcome for Timothy and Audrey as they come up here and join me to talk a little bit more about how offices are changing. Thank you very much. We have 2 mics, so we're gonna have to like share the mics a little bit. Grab a seat. All right. Okay. Where do we begin? Can you tell me a little bit, Tim? Can you tell me a little bit about Colony and it started off in mid-2017. Tell me a little bit more about the space and how is it different from, because there are quite a few co-working spaces at this point.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So my name is.
Big fans on the left-hand side.
Let me just say I'm very surprised so many people turned out at, given the whole coronavirus thing. Yeah, so I was just telling Rachel, I mean, this is the most packed event I've seen in a while. Yeah, so introducing, my name is Tim and that's my dear wife here, Audrey, who helps me with the business. So we run together a company called Colony, which is a luxury co-working space. So in KL today, there are like 150 different co-working space operators. Ours is like the really high-end one. So it's a luxury co-working space, and it's more like if you go into it, it's more like a Ritz-Carlton of offices. Has anyone here ever seen a picture of Colony before, or any Colony? Oh, quite a bit. Okay, that's great. Yeah. Much of it is my wife's work in that respect when it comes to design of the space. So yeah.
Right. So I guess I want to know a little bit more about. So you position yourself as a luxurious, co-working space. How have you positioned yourself that way, Audrey? In terms of positioning, like why take up this position? Besides it being a niche, it also costs more, I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess it does, but your honest answer? Okay, we saw a niche in not specifically luxury, but more high-end co-working spaces. We wanted a space that would give people really the luxury of working, which is a not basic space, a space that is filled with all the facilities that you could need to work comfortably, to be able to really focus on your business and not have to worry about admin stuff or your packages go missing. We wanted to cover all the angles so that people could just really focus and grow their businesses.
Right. And in terms of starting a business together, how many of you guys here actually have your spouses be your co-partner? You guys, yeah. Well, of course, both of you do. Anyone else here? Your spouse is both of you as well, working co-working spaces. I see the pattern here. But how has it been? Like, it's not easy, is it? Because you're going to work with your partner, and then you go back home with your partner. There's no respite. It's like working in the family business. Tim, how's the dynamic like? For you, Tim, for example, is how do you balance it out? Very good. You guys see that? You guys see that? You guys see relationship building 101. Okay, guys, take note. Take note. Take note. For those of you guys not married yet, you don't know. Okay, take note. All right, so.
We in the beginning we did fight a lot. To be very honest, it was a very big shift in our relationship dynamics. We went from like husband and wife to basically partners, and technically he is also my boss. So I wasn't used to him getting angry at me over work stuff. Because normally I'll be the one scolding him. No, just kidding. But it was a very huge shift in the way we worked together and the way we perceive each other and the way we interacted. So yeah, like I said that he technically he was my boss, so he was overseeing things, and we also have very different personalities. Tim is very organized, he's very forward-thinking, and he plans everything, and I'm very chill and just like, you know, I just want to see how things go, and I'm also a procrastinator, so I work very well under pressure, so like if you give me a deadline, I'll wait until it's closer to the deadline.
The day before.
Things, yeah. And there's always work for me, but it drove Tim crazy. So initially we used to have a lot of fights about that. But in the end, I think we learned how to compromise. He learned how to step back and trust that I could do things without him breathing down my neck. And so, because when we were fighting a lot, I would get very resentful at him over because I felt that like why you don't trust me, and then every single thing that he said, even if he didn't mean it negatively, I would take it very personally and then I would get upset. So I had to learn to be more patient and try to look at things from his perspective instead. So.
Right. So, but Tim, I suppose there is a clear work mode. Now we start work, and then now we're not co-workers anymore. You know, we're partners. Don't panic, bro. Very nervous, Tim.
Monolith and
It's okay, Tim. No explanation needed. No
like
explanation
I do
needed.
my best.
But yeah, how's it like for you? The dynamics, I guess.
To be honest, I love it. I mean, I've been entrepreneur. Well, before starting Colony, I've been an entrepreneur for maybe like 8-9 years before that on my own with another partner, and I always find myself coming home and talking to my wife about my problems at work, right? And she'll give her point of view and all that. But somehow, you know, even when I talk to her, confide with her about my work problems, she doesn't really, you know, it doesn't feel like she's in the trench with me. You know, I don't feel as comforted when she's, you know, because she's not in there with me, right? But now she's really in the trench with me. Now she has a lot of context, right? She knows if I have problems with a partner, a vendor, she knows directly who they are. She knows everyone in the team well. So I love it. You know, I've always wanted that, and I think that it's helped our relationship grow. So we've been together for. Okay, we'll trick you.
Oh, Tim, I can't help you there, man. I cannot help you there, bro. I want to sit a little bit further away. Oh, I can't help you there, bro.
2008, I think.
Many years.
Yeah.
They've been together for many years. That's right.
We've been together for like 12 years, right? And well, the first few years is, you know, all romance, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of, and now our relationship is evolved into more like a partnership, you know, a partnership raising the kids, a partnership of providing with the family, making decisions together, partnership even, you know, when we run, you know, a project in the company together, right? It's evolved in that way. I mean, the romance part has unfortunately died off. My wife doesn't even kiss me willingly anymore. Yeah, so, you know, and it's just, I don't see it necessarily as a bad thing, you know, it's kind of like, in a way, it's something I'm glad I knew when we started off, when we first got married, back in 2012, right? Right? 2012, right? See, I happened to mix with a lot of friends who are older than me. So when I was in my 20s, I hung out with a lot of people in the 40s, right? And they told me a lot about marriage and everything. And they told me all these things are like, you know, the things that I now experience, that, you know, marriage isn't really about romance and all this stuff anymore. It's more like a partnership to face the very harsh realities of life. Because life hits us all very, very hard. in very, very different ways, financially, health-wise, family, and all that. Yeah. You know, it hits us all very, very hard, and you know, getting married to someone is like having someone to go through with you through the ups and downs, right? So when knowing this, you know, before we got married, I had a conversation with her. I'm like, hey, you know, are we there for, you know, for each other? I mean, throughout this adventure of life.
It's a big step.
Yeah, it is, and we agreed, like, you know. So even in the hardest things. So for example, I don't know if I should be so open.
I don't know, it's called Malaysian Confessions, isn't it? So.
But it's okay, right?
I think so. I think it's recording again.
Okay, so.
See, step number 2, guys, ask for permission. This man is teaching us loads. I'm really starting to think who runs the company, you know? Like, Tim may be the boss, but you know, but the boss has to ask the boss for permission, you know?
Okay. So basically, right? Okay, so I asked permission because this is not normal, right? But you know, the depth of our relationship is that even, for example, if one day my wife cheated on me, I would totally forgive her, 100%. It wouldn't be a doubt. And because I told her, like, if one incident is gonna collapse an entire partnership, then don't do it. Don't do it now. If we're gonna be there for 40, 50 years, then we've got to be able to go through, you know, the ups and downs, which even in things as difficult or taboo as these difficult topics are.
Right. Okay, let's have away from the relationship a little bit. I feel like I'm digging Tim a hole. I'm going to take a shovel away from you now. Thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit about co-working spaces. So co-working spaces is very interesting because according to, I mean, of course, there's a lot of positives to co-working spaces, right? For companies, less paid of capital, you don't have to outfit office, there's the added benefit of having facilities, having co-workers, because when you run your own business and you're a freelancer, for example, I don't know, you tend not to have any colleagues, you tend not to have any of these benefits that bigger companies have, right? And co-working spaces kind of offer that, right? You could chime in on that if you like to. But what I want to ask is, you know, what are the pain points that both of you have decided to address in a slowly crowding space? The reason why I don't think it's overcrowded yet is because it's still quite at its infancy. But what are some of the pain points that you've addressed and you're like, okay, you know what, we're going to start Colony and it's going to address those pain points. What are the pain points?
Yeah, so our mission is very, very different from a typical co-working space. So the co-working model, which is popularized by WeWork, right? And it's about like spaces that build communities among freelancers and startups and stuff like that, right? Whereas colonies, we don't go for that at all. Our goal is to change the experience of work. Is that we want the office to feel like going for a staycation at the Four Seasons rather than like the office. So there are huge differences in that. So for example, instead of if you go there, it's very quiet in colonies. It's like it's not as happening as a typical co-working space. It's very privacy is something that people want quite a bit. It's a typical co-working space is very self-serve. So if you want something, you will get it yourself. Whereas in colony, it's like you don't really get anything yourself. Like anything you need, just call a butler, and then the butler that gets it for you. Also down to the way the space looks. It looks really, really different. So it's because the colony experience is a very different experience. That has allowed us to carve out like a niche where the market we go for is a lot less price sensitive, and that's what allows us to make money. Like most co-working spaces globally lose money, but you know, and the biggest challenge is it's not filling up space. Every co-working space can fill up. It's just whether they can fill up at the rates they need to fill up at. Yeah.
In other words, you guys are not as affected with the fact that I'm not sure if you guys know, but when it comes to, I think, this year and the next year, there's a lot more offices being built. There's an oversupply in the Klang Valley when it comes to offices. I think something along like 14.9 million square feet of new office spaces are coming into market. How, you know, do you see that affecting the market for yourself? But since you position yourself in such a different way, do you see it affecting you?
Yeah, so flexible workspace, which is where co-working, service office and all that lies, is actually a very small subset of the overall market. Right now, it only accounts for 2-3% of overall property market, and that's expected to grow in the next 5 to 10 years to 15% to 30%, right? So it's going to grow like 7-8 times the market size it is right now. So and this wave will lift everyone. So even all the different other co-working space operators in different segments, it will lift them, and that's why everyone's going into it.
Right. There's also a lot of, I mean, Tim, you were mentioning earlier on that calling the space looks very different from every other co-working space around. Audrey, I think you've had a hand in like designing them. How do you come up with the designs? You know, you've got like a Parisian looking feel and theme, and then you've got another room, it's more UK. How do you just come up with the theme and do it?
Okay, so all our spaces have a different theme. We didn't want to just go with like one uniform, like a theme that covers everything. So the designs come from just inspiration that I see around me. But the commonality is that they all are luxurious. They all are very comfortable. The main objective is to make people feel at home and as comfortable in a beautiful environment as possible. So we've had a British colonial design theme because of the new colony, right? We've had like a Parisian one. We've had a New York Soho theme, Soho style, and then we've also had a Wes Anderson theme. So these are all very eclectic. It's all very different, but I just draw inspiration from things that I see around me, things that I think are beautiful, and I try to interpret that into a design theme for a space.
Right. Okay. So from what I've been gathering, I think you guys are doing really good numbers. You were saying that most co-working spaces don't make money. You guys are actually breaking even, making money, expanding.
Yeah. So I mean, we're growing very quickly. We actually as a whole year we actually broke even EBITDA wise. Last quarter we actually turned a pretty good profit. But this year on the other hand, January was fantastic for us. But February, so where we are exposed more than other co-working spaces is that a third of our sales comes from events, right? So with this Corona thing, every event's being cancelled. All the branded events, like Sephora or like L'Oreal and other, they all cancel the events. So that affects us. So I haven't seen Feb's numbers yet because it just closed, but I suspect that might drag us back into a loss, even though it's been good for the past.
No, you're absolutely right. Events are being, I don't know if you guys noticed, but events are being postponed quite a lot, and quite understandably as well. But very interesting. So you mentioned that you've got several ways of making money, one of which is the event space. Let's talk a little bit more about the, I believe you guys started a glamping event space / stay. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What's it called? It's called Castra, is that right?
Yeah, okay, so I will tell you, I'll start with the idea of how that came about, and I'll let my wife tell you about the design. And
taking turns, sharing the attention. That's very, very good.
Yeah. So for Colony, we're always about introducing new experiences, right? And so if you come to a colony, and if you've never been to a colony, and you go to any of the 5 colonies in KL, chances are you would be taken aback a little bit, because what you see is not what you would expect in a typical office or a co-working space. And we're thinking of how to bring these wow experiences into other manners, right? And we find that work doesn't just happen in the office. Work happens sometimes in cafes, in workshops, when you have classroom setting kind of workshops. It happens even in events or company team buildings or stuff like that. So we created spaces not just for office, but we have a very cool workshop room that's where you sit on sofas, and it looks very, very homey in class and quite luxurious. But what we found was that there was a lot of demand for team building kind of events or team parties, but there wasn't a very unique space for that, like a barbecue or something. Right now today, if you think of a barbecue, you don't normally go to someone's condo and do it, right? So we have this rooftop space in one of our colonies in Star Boulevard, which is in Yap Wan Sing. So we actually took the roof, we built out 2 tents, put in one of it to be a bedroom kind of tent, another to be a living room tent. We put air conditioning, we built bathrooms up there and everything, with a nice barbecue pit, with a nice communal area with fairy lights. And it's become a very, very popular place for team buildings, for parties. I think we had some hens nights or bridal showers there as well, because it's smack in the middle of the city, so people stay there, and then you go and party in the club downstairs and come back and party again. Yeah. So I really encourage you to just come and visit Colony. You don't even have to pretend to want to rent an office or anything. You can just say, hey, I just want to see. I don't want to rent anything. I'm not interested. I just want to take a look. And we'll be happy to show you guys around. we show everybody around. Even WeWork comes to our spaces and say, hey, come, you know.
Should they name drop? Oh, I know Audrey. Yeah.
No, I mean, don't have to. They'll be like, Audrey who? But okay.
It's the square one.
So it's really different. If you want to check out what it looks like, just search for Castra by Colony, Castra on Instagram. Then you'll see like some pictures of how it looks like. So yeah, okay.
When it comes to, so let's go back to how people think about office spaces. I think in the 80s, you had cubicles, and in the 90s they got rid of the cubicles. They had long desks where you share desks and so forth. And in the 2000s and 10s, you had flexi working, you had hot desking. Where is this going? So I think, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are filling up a niche of a niche. So it's flexi working, but it's for people who don't want the normal co-working space where you have to participate in the group activities. You just want to keep to yourself, and you want everything done for you, right? So when you see office spaces working, changing in the future, because even your customer base is changing. It used to be only startups and SMEs, right? But now even people with offices are moving into co-working spaces. What's going on?
I don't want to give the false impression that I do all the talking in our relationship. It's actually my wife.
She's doing the controlling, you're doing the talking. Oh, yes, we get it.
So what we're seeing is that we're seeing a huge trend of companies actually very interested in changing the environment in which we work in our offices, right? And you do it partly because it's market forces. It's harder and harder to find people, like talent, right? And it's going to get harder to find good people. And so companies, apart from just pay and benefits and everything, they have to gradually up their game in many different aspects. And a big part of that is the office environment. So I found a survey where 70% of people in the workforce survey in Malaysia were willing to give up any other perk, like even pay or some kind of benefits or anything like that, just to have a better working environment in the office. They're willing to do that, right? So there is an interest for companies to move towards this, and a lot of companies do. Like, so AirAsia is very public about their office having slides and everything. You have companies now that put football tables and pool tables, which tend to be white elephants because really nobody really takes to them after the first day. So we didn't have any of that in Colony because we wanted to build an office that had facilities that mattered to people, right? So what would this be, right? So we searched, we kind of did a lot of surveys. Initially, my thought of a cool office that would attract people would involve like ping pong tables and beer taps and stuff like that, but it turns out that nobody actually cared about that. People cared about more basic stuff. They wanted like nap rooms. They wanted nursing rooms with a mini fridge where you can store your resident once you're pumped and all that. They want a great coffee, not a pantry espresso kind of coffee. They want like a barista made coffee, and they're willing to pay for it because most people drink 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day and that's it, right? They want access to a mall, like within walking distance, not a dead mall, but a good mall. Access to public transport. They want access to close by gym so they can balance fitness and everything together with their work lives, So and they want all these things, right? So we kind of like took all those and we built all these things into every colony you see today.
This question is for Audrey. What about the marketing aspect of it? So there's a lot of USPs, obviously, that's very different from other co-working spaces. How have you managed to cut through the noise to market Colony as a different type of co-working space? A luxurious, different kind of co-working space. What's your strategy? What was your strategy?
I think, to be very honest, one of the main reasons why Colony really took off in the early stages was because of Tim, because of who he was, what he used to do, and a lot of people were very interested to see what he would do next. A lot of people had high expectations of him. So I think a lot of people were also following that, and us both being on social media and all that really helped. And I think in today's social media world, where photos, Instagram is really very important, plays a very big role in what people perceive, and I think people seeing the different, our design, for example, like how the place looks, it looks completely different to what a typical co-working space would look like. I think that really, in terms of marketing, that really gave us a very big boost in the beginning. Then as we went on, every time we built a new space and went with a different theme, I think there was some kind of hype, going on to see like what's next for us. Yeah. So and the last project is Castra, obviously the glamping site. Yeah.
Well, I'm confused to see. So yeah, so maybe as you see revenue coming in from event side, you can like actually shift it to an event space organizer.